I'd like now to turn to the Brazilian market overview. I'm very pleased to have Newton Duarte, who is the executive president coming from COGEN Brazil. He's also the vice president of COGEN World Coalition. Newton, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hans. It's a big pleasure for us from Brazil to talk to this audience. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, David, also for the opportunity. We would like to give you guys some snapshots about how cogeneration is developing in the country. And we had already from Simon a snapshot about Brazil and South America, which was very interesting as well. I would like to start. Shall I share my presentation? Should I try? What do you think?
You're sharing it, but you're in presenter's mode, so we see it in a different format. If you go to the circle with the 3 dots, click on that.
Okay, right here, the circle.
On the bottom.
On the bottom. Let me try. Yes, let me try to do it. I think I can. Just a second.
If not, I can share the slides.
Just a second. For some reason, now I got it. You guys have it with me? Not yet?
No, we don't see anything.
Let me try again. No. Yeah, for some reason I can make it. Could you make it for me, please?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good. Well, we have around a little bit below 100 associates in our cogeneration, sugarcane mills, natural gas distributors, electricity distributors and generators, equipment manufacturers, engineering companies, and a variety of participants in the cogeneration world. We have stated our cogeneration entity since September 2003. So we're almost 20 years operating, and it's a really great achievement, the variety of companies and the magnitude of companies participating. Next, please. Important to give you guys a snapshot about our matrix, energy matrix and electrical matrix. First of all, we have oil representing 1/3 of our energy necessities, and interesting wise, sugarcane represents the second below oil, and afterwards hydro and natural gas also contribute with around 12% of our energy necessities, giving us the possibility to make use of 48% of renewable energy sources in comparison to a 16% of OECD countries, which is a remarkable and distinctive situation for the country. On the electric side, this is even better. We are counting of around 83% of renewable sources, where hydro represents almost 2/3, and thermal natural gas, coal and oil are representing 16%. Wind with incredible development in the last 10 years with 23 gigawatts, and biomass with 17 gigawatts representing 9%, which accounts for a great proportion of CHP and cogeneration, as we will see later. Solar is also growing dramatically from 5 megawatts and above up to 500 megawatts in all farms. So photovoltaic is playing a big role. and nuclear power with only 2 gigawatts with 2 plants in the country. A third plant is under construction since a long time already, represents only 1%. So very important is that our 187 gigawatt installed base electrical system, 83% out of it is renewable. And this is very important for our transition that is somehow already done. Decarbonization is our aim, is our future, and that's where we'll be working on. And cogeneration will play a major role in that respect. Next, please. Just to give you a size of the country, Brazil is pretty much a little smaller than the US continental. Nevertheless, you putting 31 European countries without Amazon, gives you the size. And the beauty is that our electrical transmission system is somehow, putting together all those states from north to the south and west to the east. And this gives us an opportunity to, share and transmit, power from one region to the other region, where southeast concentrates most of our hydropower and northeast concentrates most of our wind power and solar power. So we share this, and this is also important for our electrical and energy systems. Next, please. Well, this is a snapshot of our cogeneration evolution so far. We account for more or less 20.3 gigawatts, approximately 11% of our installed capacity. In case of biomass, 507 installations, with accounts for 16.8 gigawatts. Out of it, 12 gigawatts are sugarcane bagasse cogeneration plants, and 3.2 gigawatts out of black liquor from pulp and paper industry, and around 1.2 gigawatts from wood and some other biomasses. In case of natural gas, only 93 installations account for 3.2 gigawatts, most of them, as David said, and David Jones said, emphasized, most of them from petrochemical and chemical installations. And in case of biogas, we're also growing, starting, but growing with 50 installations with 400 megawatts. The trend from 2005, as we've been following up to now, we've been seeing a very fast, early in the decade, last decade, fast growing installations, and then with the difficulties we had, economical difficulties, since 2015, 2016, and now with the pandemic, we are now starting growing back again. On the centralized solar, and we have around over 200 installations with 6.7 gigawatts. And in case of micro and mini grids, there we see a dramatic increase over 1.4 million installations in residential and commercial sites, and with over 15 gigawatts and growing dramatically, around 20%, over 30% per month, per year, growing in the micro and mini. And that will play an important role, as David Jones explained, with CHP, and how micro CHP can play a big role also together with micro and mini solar power. Next, please. On the natural gas cogeneration, we have carried out a study where over 5,500 power plant potential projects on the CHP, and we accounted more or less 7 gigawatts electrical and almost 18 gigawatts thermal of potential natural gas cogeneration, and around up to 5 megawatts, around half of it, and above 5 megawatts, the other half. We also have in our site a simulator where a potential CHP installation can, put some information, and these simulator will give We will give this potential interest company an idea of if he has, opportunities to install his CHPs, micro CHP. The installed actual capacity with above 3 gigawatts, we have here a potential to install 7 gigawatts in addition in the coming years. Next, please. The natural gas prices, as all over the world, in Brazil, if we take in 2022, if we take reais, or that's our national currency, per cubic meter, 1.27 reais, that's around $6.6 per million BTU. If you compare with the natural gas prices that a variety of distributors, the major distributors throughout the country in Southeast and South, you see that there is a price of around over three times more expensive in the country in comparison to the international medium or average price. So that gives us a big hit, and that doesn't, facilitate at all the progress or the development of our natural gas opportunities in the country. But we shall see a normalization in the coming months, hopefully, or years, when we'll see an opportunity to increase that potential and install that potential already set. Next, please. The beauty of biomass in the country, primarily out of sugarcane mills, is that we see an opportunity here to cope with the droughts that we see from April to November in the case of hydropower plants. And exactly in that time when the drought is there, that we are harvesting our sugarcane. And out of the sugarcane bagasse, we can produce electricity, and exactly in that time, so helping right here, helping with throughout the season, the dry season in the hydropower plants, we see the green helping with the cogeneration output out of 380 sugarcane mills, around 220 export electricity to the grid, and that gives us the opportunity to save around 14 percentage points out of our reservoirs in comparison to 49% of reservoirs that we have right now at the end of the dry season. Now we're starting the rain again. So sugarcane, biomass, cogeneration, electricity exported to the grid contributes with 14 percentage points out of these 49 that we have nowadays in our reservoirs. So that's very important, helping the hydropower plants. The same happens with wind, a little bit translated to the end of the semester, but they give a similar help to our reservoirs. Next, please. This is the potential for our sugarcane mills, not only out of existing power plants with the almost 12 gigawatts, but only with the retrofit of the other 160 sugarcane mills, we may achieve another 12 gigawatts of potential installed base, plus 7 gigawatts of our renovable system, and that I will explain next slide, with additional 200 million tons of sugarcane being harvested. And biogas is starting to be a big deal in the sugarcane industry, where we expect to install 3.6 gigawatts in the coming years. Next slide, please. I said renovable. This is a certificate that the industry receives whenever a fossil gas or diesel, each gallon or liter is sold. You pay some cents in order, in addition to be given to the one that produces ethanol and biodiesel. And this represents an aim to start from 30 billion liters or around 8 billion gallons of ethanol being produced every year to achieve 50 billion liters or around 30 billion, 12 or 13 billion gallons a year by 2030. And by 2030, we expect to, in addition, to bring around those 7 gigawatts of installed installed sugarcane mills of installed energy, electricity. So the RenovaBio is now being important not only to produce more ethanol, but also to produce biogas or biomethane. And here we have two examples of starting 21 megawatt in a sugarcane around 200 miles west from São Paulo, and the other one in the Paraná state in the south with Copcana with 10 megawatts. These are two examples, and we are seeing a variety of over dozens of sugar mill plants now installing biogas systems out of the vinasse produced with the ethanol production. Next, please. Important thing about the ethanol is that the ethanol car running 100% with ethanol in the country, and I have to say that half of our fleet in the country of 45 million cars, they run with 100% ethanol. The ethanol have a lower carbon or CO2 produced by kilometer than any electric vehicles all over the world, including Brazil, because we're not 100% renewable. So the lowest emission can happen with the 100% E100 with ethanol cars. So this is a very important thing that will bring us to an important comparison with electric vehicles, where electric vehicles in this country represent not so interesting compared to ethanol when you talk about the carbonization. Next, please. Just to give you an idea on how ethanol is important, a 40,000 liter capacity truck with ethanol represents around 7,700 kilos of hydrogen content. If you talk about ammonia in the same volume, you have 4,700 kilograms, and the compressed hydrogen itself, ethanol always brings 5 times more hydrogen content in comparison to ammonia and hydrogen itself in the same volume. So that means that ethanol might be one of the most important hydrogen, production opportunities for our mobility, and also thinking in the future with a fuel cell car where ethanol will be producing hydrogen and electricity in the car at the same time. And we have already examples with Toyota and Nissan and some other manufacturers like General Motors, Daimler-Benz, and Volkswagen are also working on it. Next, please. So coming to an end, biomass and biogas cogeneration attributes, as everybody already pointed out: power resilience, inertia, reliability, and distributed generation, reducing voltage drops, give us a lot of potential attributes to our electrical system, lower gas emissions, heading to a carbon neutral industry, develop industry in the country, and rural development are important and key issues here, key opportunities. Next, please. My last slide, sugar and ethanol opportunities. Well, the fleet diesel substitutions, we're talking about almost 700 million gallons a year that will be substituted by biomethane produced in a circle economy inside the sugarcane mill, substituting diesel with biomethane, biomass cogeneration, in addition, 18 gigawatts potential to the existing 12 gigawatts, biogas cogeneration with another 3 gigawatts potential, and biomethane swap in the sugar mills and the natural gas distributors will be also key to bring biomethane to small towns and surrounding industries. And this is already happening in some small towns or 300,000 inhabitants towns, like we see in Presidente Prudente and some other towns in the São Paulo state. So I appreciate and thank you for your attention, and I'll be available for any further questions. Thank you. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you, Newton. Thank you for your presentation. Very comprehensive, very interesting situation in Brazil, already being very much towards the end of its decarbonization journey, and also a lot of potential still for cogeneration, especially renewable cogeneration. I'm going to stop sharing your slides now,